All right, guys, good morning. It's Chris and Josh from Grappling here today with another special guest for the next edition of Coffees and Crossfaces. We're here with one of the newest black belts in the Maritimes, a familiar face from around the competition scene for sure, Joe Pilmer. So, Joe, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So here we are once again, the Cask and Kettle. Wonderful to be here on a beautiful fall day.
Yes, sir.
What's new and good?
Not too much, man. Just teaching, training, having fun, staying in shape, trying to be good.
Trying to be good. Yeah.
Awesome. We might as well just jump right into it. Let's start at the beginning, I guess. What got you into jiu-jitsu? How'd you find it?
Well, I was always into, it's silly to say, I was really into professional wrestling as a kid. And I always found that my brother was in karate and he was really good at striking. I was so bad at it. And if you saw my last MMA fight, yeah, I really am. But the issue was if he could stay like away from me, he'd beat the living shit out of me. But if I get a hold of someone, I felt like stronger.
You're talking like backyard wrestling or
No,
Thanksgiving
just
dinner?
No, just like if two brother and he'd older brothers picking younger brothers. But I found if I could get a hold of someone, I felt I could control them. And then I got into judo as a younger kid, but I never stuck with it. And I played a lot of football, and then I really injured my ankle one year, and I was out, and I was just looking for something to do. And one of the guys I played football with was doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and I was like, huh, I wonder. And that was when Edgar was teaching out in KV.
Oh, yeah.
So I went out there, and I still remember because I was working at Sobeys, and I was at shift work. Not shift work, but, well, kind of, yeah. But I could never say I was going to be there. So Edgar had sold clip cards. And for $100, you get 10 classes, and your 11th was free, sort of deal. So it took me about 6 to 8 months to fill up that clip card because just, you get the shit kicked out of you. You don't want to come back. But I kept showing up, and then when John opened up in town at Bayside Drive there, and then I just been with it ever since. So that was 2011 I started, but 2012 was like the first year where I went all the way through.
Awesome. I was out there too. It's funny, I don't even really remember most of the guys that started in KV. I remember Somerville.
Yeah,
I think McPartland was there a bit too. But aside from that, it's just kind of a blur.
You know who I always remember is Big Maurice Ouellette.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, big wrestler from Bathurst, and they taught him like an Americana, and he just beat everybody.
Yeah, he's a scary dude.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, that's it. And, yeah, I just enjoy it, and then you get addicted to it. And
so when was your first competition? Was that blue?
No, white. I went to, it was 2012, November of 2012 in Truro at Marmac. And I lost my first match. It was a gi and no gi tournament. I didn't do gi. I only went in no gi. Heavyweight no gi. The tournament started at 10 a.m. I didn't compete until 6:30 that night. It was rough. And my first match was against Colin Banfield. He hip tossed me and got me with that scarf hold like leg Americana. And that took about 40 seconds. And I was like, well, that sucked. Yeah. So I went up against the next guy. I think he was a judo guy. My buddy was white belt in this, and I got him with a north-south choke. And then I think I went up against Colin again, and I would have had to go against him twice because I ended up winning gold. So I think I beat him. I got him a couple of times, and yeah, I won that one. And yeah, it was a good tournament. And then I didn't compete any. That was 2012. 2013, I didn't compete at all. I think it's because that tournament sort of left a bad taste in my mouth because that was a long day.
Well, back then there was only like one tournament a year.
Yeah.
Because I think my first tournament was a Marmac one as well, and same deal.
But
it's
like,
so crowded.
It's not their fault. It's just everyone showed up to it, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's just they had 3 rings, and it was just a long day.
Yeah, we didn't have much for venues back then. It was just
and that
something popped up, you tried to go.
And hot, man. Oh my God. John competed that day, and Sidney Curley competed that day. It was yeah, I had fun. Brent McDonald, he was there that day.
Really?
Yeah. He didn't compete. I think he signed up and then he didn't compete. I think he had an MMA fight coming up or something like that. I forget.
Okay.
And yeah, I haven't seen him in a long time. But Yeah, and then I never competed in 2013 at all, and my next tournament was 2014 in KV. It was one of Edge Guards tournaments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and ever since, I've at least done one tournament a year since then.
Do you think that being able to compete as an adult has played a factor in your longevity in the sport? Would you have gotten bored and stopped going if you couldn't do it?
You mean if I started younger?
No, I mean like if there were no tournaments or no way to compete as an adult, would you have stuck with it?
That's a good question, because I'm a fairly competitive person.
Yeah.
And especially when I figured out I was pretty good at this. I'm never going to say I'm the best in the world or anything like that, but I found something I was competent at. And I think if you find something like that in your life, you might as well pursue it, because you don't get that many chances. Like, you don't see painters stop painting and then start, I don't know, playing football. You know what I mean? Like, maybe that's just a bad analogy, but like I can't stop doing jiu-jitsu and then have to, I don't know, start woodworking. Maybe I could.
Maybe you could, yeah.
But while my body allows me, and while I still have the interest, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing.
So you don't know if tournaments played a role in your keen interest?
I think they do. I think there's nothing like it, competing. Like, when that first tournament, you feel like you're going to throw up. Like you're terrified. You don't want to get hurt. You don't want to hurt anyone. You just want to win, but you don't want to look like an idiot. And just like, listen, I've won I won big matches and I've lost bigger. End of the day, you go home, you're fine. You got maybe a few bangs and bruises. I've never been seriously injured doing a jiu-jitsu tournament. So yeah, I love that feeling. I love that feeling of competing. It's addictive.
Well, you can really tell, because you say you're a mainstay in the competition scene here locally. We see you all the time at Rogue events and obviously elsewhere throughout the Maritimes. So it's if you didn't have that drive to compete, we wouldn't see you that frequently.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
If I am injured and can't compete, that plays a lot on my mind, because we only got so many years to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see, like, you see some, but around here at a certain point, stuff's going to start wearing down. The wheels are going to fall off. None of us are indestructible, so you got to strike while the iron's hot. And I'm not saying that if you are an older grappler getting into it and want to do your first tournament, that's cool, but that's them not having years of abuse like I have on my body.
It's the mileage.
Yeah, like you go buy a 91 Tercel right now and just start flying 160 down the highway. I don't know how long she's gonna hold up. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta do these things while you can. So that's why I like to compete as much as possible when I can, is because I don't know, who knows, next year I could blow something out. Something awful could happen to me. Who knows? But you need to be like aware that there's a finite time for this. So get at it.
That's good advice for life in general. And just as an aside, I love the fact you mentioned a Tercel there, because off camera we just figured out that Josh can sleep anywhere, including the floor of a Tercel on the highway.
Yeah.
But maybe we'll cover that in a different interview, maybe. So, Joe, when you think about jiu-jitsu itself, like, what does jiu-jitsu mean to you?
What does it mean to me? I don't know. It's a way of life, kind of. It's a physical endeavor. It's hard. You can do it. You can get injured, but the lifelong effects aren't as hard as like boxing, kickboxing, MMA.
Not as much risk of CTE.
Yeah, and I don't want to have any issues like that when I'm older. So I had my little bit of fun doing cage fighting, and glad I got that right out of my system. Yeah, thanks, Nick. You busted that right out of my head. But I just love being able to go and train, see my friends. Like sometimes I'm more in a playful mood, sometimes I'm more in a serious mood. Like preparing for a tournament, that's my favorite time. I'm a very regimented person. I don't know, like I'm always at jiu-jitsu about an hour early, warming up, getting mentally prepared, especially getting ready for a tournament. It's that's my favorite time. It's like that game time. You know what I mean? Like it's fun going in. Like I remember Christmas time, I had some guys come in. I brought a cooler full of beer. We had a Christmas Eve open mat. I brought a cooler full of Moose Light, and we all sat down after we had some rolls and had some beers. Like that's fun. That's great, and I like that camaraderie. But to me, for me personally, that game time situation, getting ready for something, that feeling of preparedness and rigid attention to detail and focus that's my favorite thing.
As far as like competition anxiety goes, do you think the way that you handle your, I'm going to call it camps, leading up to tournaments or other events, do you think that plays into whether or not you feel as nervous as some people? Because I know a lot of white belts, they'll come to us and ask, how do they deal with the nerves before the first time they compete? I think everybody gets nervous. I just assume it gets easier the more often you, like the more frequently you compete.
Of course. The more you do anything.
Yeah.
You were probably scared the first time you drove a car too. But keep driving. Now you can do all kinds of stuff, right? So for me, I always say, I have a mantra in my head is you chose to do this. This is 100% on you. Why would you choose to do something that you don't want to do? That's it. If you don't want to compete, don't, right?
Yeah.
So in your mind, you have to remember, you chose to do this. This is, no one forced you. So obviously you were doing this because you want to. So if you want to do something, just remember that. You're paying, you're paying the tournament fee. You drove up to the tournament. You're there. You might as well give it your best shot because you chose to do it. If you don't want to do it, don't sign up. So I say that in my head. Well, I just, like we did the FLA tournament. That was a really big night for me. But if I was terrified, I wouldn't have asked Kat if I could have a spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's for me. But that's what I tell people. I tell them, you chose to do it, you might as well have fun. And if you lose, it doesn't matter. Some people don't have, they're killers in class, but they get out there and the nerves get them. That's fine. But if they keep competing, the nerves will get less and less. But you always get that little bit of butterfly.
Right.
Right there, like when you're on deck and you tell me you don't have butterflies in your stomach, you're lying. Like even like it could be that FLA or it could be the last Rogue tournament. Like we had the Grand Prix last year here. I'm in my home gym. So I got a pretty good advantage because I don't have the nerves that everyone else does. But Joe, you're on deck. And I'm watching, I forget the two girls, but they had a 20-some minute match before.
Abby and Haley.
What a match.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, I can't keep up with that because I was way heavier then too. And I'm like, Jesus, how the hell am I going to keep up with this? But we did. Me and Sean went 29 minutes, so that was pretty cool. And yeah, that's all I tell. That's what I would tell anyone that has performance anxieties. Just keep doing it if you want to. If you go to your first tournament and you don't want to, and you did it, it's over. Guess what? You accomplished something that most people will never do. And if you don't want to do that anymore, you don't have to. You did it.
Yeah, you got that feather in your cap.
Yeah. Hey man, I never. Maybe I want to go skydiving, and I do it, and it was the worst experience of my life. I still did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not something you want the worst experience of your life.
No, you know what I mean? But it's still, just like you said, it's a feather in your cap. It's something you can put on your gravestone when you're gone. You know what I mean? I did that.
Yeah. So speaking of, you mentioned the marathon match with Sean McManus.
Dude.
So can you talk us through, like, if you remember, what was it like as the minutes wore on? I know no one's necessarily looking at the clock per se, but I mean the sweat's pouring off you. It was a grindy battle for I think it was 29 minutes. I'm pretty sure that was the time. Yeah. What was that like?
Just hard because Sean's so tough and he's so hard to finish. And I had him in some bad spots, but he wanted it more that day. He's the, to me, he's the scariest finisher in the Maritimes.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter how long this is going to go. You got to kill him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that rule set really played to his style.
Oh man, that I think, as it pertains to like a crowd or someone watching it, it's not the most viewer friendly format. But as it pertains to who is the best at this, it's the only way to go. So
that's exactly why we chose that rule set for that.
It's that's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
Because there's no stalling. Well, you can, but what are you going to do? Take a point away? It's submission only. So you got to go. You got to do it. So I would have been worried against Sean in the gi, but I was way more comfortable no gi with Sean. I got a couple of good. I think I caught him with a take, or I think I just head snapped him actually. And I was on top for a long time, and then he caught me with that triangle, and I didn't think he'd be able to finish that triangle because I had the arm tucked behind him, but he just switched his hips, and he has the most insane leg strength I've ever felt. That squeeze. So, and being at the time I was probably like 250 pounds and a little tired after 20-some minutes.
Yeah. You mentioned before that was an eye opener to your weight.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen you at the gym, like the change in how you train, and it's just been.
I had to, again, when it comes to longevity, you can't be that big and keep doing what we're doing.
Right.
Like now, I have no interest in being super. Like I want to have my strength. I have no interest in lifting heavy weights. I have no interest in being big and bulky. I just want to be as lean as I can and do this for as long as I can. So that was a big eye opener for me. And it showed off because I won the biggest tournament of my life.
Yeah.
That was the biggest accomplishment of my life, was that night. And then getting my black belt. So it was a hell of a month. But
it's been a good summer, eh?
Yeah. Busy.
Joe's had the best 2021 of anybody's.
Yeah. But yeah, Sean's really good.
Yeah.
So like when you talk a bit about kind of the training regimen and maybe shifting away from the powerlifting, the heavier weights into more, I'm going to call it functional training, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
Like when did that switch happen, or how did you start shifting your focus in your fitness and how you were going to approach that? Was it grappling specific, or was it just general, or?
Me, Matt Tufts, Rob LeBlanc, and Pat Beamish were on like a group feed. And they were all doing like a thing to everyone would have to weigh in, the three of them, just to keep themselves accountable. So then they put me on with them, and I was probably 260. Like COVID was not good for me. Right. I maybe got a little down in the dumps, and I wanted to be able to keep doing this. So what happened was I just on Instagram one day, a friend of mine did this thing called 75 Hard. So what 75 Hard is I'd say it's more of a mental challenge than a fitness challenge, because you have to cross off the checklist every day, and if you do not, you have to start back at day one. So you could be at day 30 and you forget one of the checklists, you're back at day one. So luckily I never had to do that, but the challenge is no alcohol, no cheat meals. You have to work out twice a day for 45 minutes each. Can't be together. So it can't be 90
minutes, right?
One of the workouts has to be outside. You have to read 10 pages of a book. And I think I'm missing one. Oh, you have to drink a gallon of water every day. So I did this in January. So you're working out outside every day for, and that's the mental part, is you can't break. So you have to do it. And I went from 255 when I started to 227, and I felt great. And the thing was, I had to really change my training style because I couldn't lift heavy. You can't, you're gonna get hurt.
Right.
So I did a lot of walking, a lot of running, a lot of Bulgarian bag work. I have one 50-pound kettlebell at the house. I used that. I did the guy on the internet, he's an on-it athlete, Eric Leha, I think is how you say it, but he's the Primal Soldier on Instagram, and he has a bunch of these single kettlebell workouts, brutal. But the thing is, with weight like that, you won't get hurt. Like, obviously you can get hurt doing anything.
Yeah, kettlebells are more functional.
Yeah. So for me, it just, and then I did a lot of body weight stuff. So maybe once a month I do like a heavy deadlift just to keep that lower back and core strength. And I did a lot of the Boss Rutan workout. I don't know if you ever.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Boss Rutan has like an all-around workout CD. And it's 29 minutes. It's brutal, but it's all body weight. And yeah, so when I started doing it, I could. My grappling style was changing too in the gym. Like I was throwing up triangles and I was doing things that I never did before.
All of a sudden, you were working from guard.
Yeah, I play guard. I love guard now.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know by the FLA card, but I never got a chance.
That's good.
Yeah, and it really changed my life. I feel so much better. Like I'm like I couldn't. Oh, and then I had to make weight for the FLA card, so I had to get down 215. So I was 227 in May. So I couldn't figure out what to do, and then at Simply for Life West Side, the guy said, "Man, I can take your money, or I can just tell you try intermittent fasting." I'm like, okay. Tried intermittent fasting, went from 227 to 218. There, I jumped on. I got to the hotel that night, jumped on the elliptical for an hour with the sweats on, and woke up the next morning. I was 213. So, pretty easy cut, and yeah. So now I think I'm 222 right now, and if I can hold around there, and I can fluctuate. I don't want to go much higher than that. Like 225 is like, I want that to be like the alarm go off. You got to start dialing back, but. Yeah, I would tell anyone to do that challenge.
So the forced outdoor workouts is really where you discovered this new love of running.
I love running.
Yeah.
Well, I actually started running before I did it. I did like, I don't know why. It was because we couldn't train at the gym. So my first long run was 17 kilometers because I wanted to see how long it took me to burn 2,000 calories.
Your first run was 17 kilometers?
Not my first, because remember,
I was going to say,
my first long
Well, like
run.
most people start at like 4.
My first long run. Because I last year I was running back and forth from the gym.
Right.
So I would do that twice a week or 3 times a week. But I was still in the 240s. Or no, I was still heavy then. But I would do that. And then they shut the gym down. So I just started running. So I did 10, and then my goal one Friday, I think, I wanted to see how long it took me to burn 2,000 calories. So it took me 17 kilometers, but I did it.
How do you track that?
I have an app on my phone,
Okay.
the Under Armour Map My Run, and it's you type in your body weight, and then it goes off of your speed and distance.
Okay.
So it might not be the most accurate,
Yeah.
but it's what I got. So it took me 17 kilometers to burn that. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty crazy. And then actually it was Mike McPartland on Instagram. He goes, man, you're almost at a half marathon. I'm like, how long's that?
It's a 21, isn't it?
Yeah, so then I ran that. And I felt pretty good about that. So that was my house to past the store in Laurenville, like heading to Colson Cove and back. So then that was coming up on my 30th birthday. And I said, no, turn 30, I'm going to run 30. So I took the day off on my 30th birthday, December 4th. And I ran from my house all the way to Colson Cove, through Laurenville. And then I messed it up when I mapped it out. And I thought my house would be 30. It wasn't. I had to keep going down Mount Awagonish all the way to the Esso.
Oh.
So, and then Sonia came to pick me up because I couldn't walk. She had like, I still remember she gave me the purple G2. I must have drank 3 or 4 of them. And then it was so sad because someone told me to eat tortillas, like runners eat like just plain tortillas.
Oh, for the carbs?
So I eat this plain tortilla and I chug it down with this the purple Gatorade there. And it's just this paste. And I'm crying because I'm in pain. But I'm so proud of myself. And she's like, what's wrong with you? I go, I don't know.
So one thing I want to touch on there, because I find it really interesting for my own personal interest. I've really been trying to get a lot more dedicated reading time in my training.
Okay.
So I kind of alternate back and forth. But what you mentioned in a hard 75, you had to do these 10 pages a day.
Yep.
What were you reading?
I read a lot of different stuff. I read Musashi's book, The Book of 5 Rings. I read David Goggins' book.
Can't Hurt Me?
Can't Hurt Me.
I'm reading that now.
Nice. I read Jordan Peterson's book. Whatever that's called.
12 Rules for Life?
That's the one.
Okay.
I actually read a biography on Dr. D. David Schultz, who, if you don't know, he was the guy on NBC in the 80s that John Stossel said wrestling was fake, and David hit him in the face and busted his eardrum. And and then he turned out to be one of America's greatest bounty hunters. So I read his book. I get into weird kicks. I read Jim Ross's book, The Announcer from Wrestling. Pretty cool. What else did I read? Oh, I read Gene LaBelle's book. Actually, I got to give that back to Mike Meehan. Mike, sorry, I've had your book for like 6 years.
I'm the worst for that.
Yeah, but Judo Gene LaBelle, I don't know if you know who that is.
Oh, yeah.
He's an
Yeah.
interesting character. It's so funny. You know what the book's called? The Toughest Man That's Ever Lived. Like, how do you get that title? But
You beat Gene LaBelle.
yeah.
You choke out Steven Seagal.
I read Jake Shannon's book, who is he's the owner of Scientific Wrestling. He's like the lead guy in catch wrestling right now. Has been for a few years, and yeah, it's just real interesting. What was that called? Say Uncle or something like that? Or,
It's a good title for a catch wrestling book.
Yeah, so
I like it.
I read that. It's too bad because once I got out of 75 hard, it's really hard to get back into my reading. I found it really difficult, and I'm still trying to.
You find other ways to fill the time.
Exactly. Especially like, I'm real bad for I'll go into YouTube rabbit hole now. That's why I can't go on TikTok. I can't. I will not sign up for it because I would just be,
You'll blink and lose 6 hours.
Yeah, that's it.
It's awful.
Yeah.
So do you find your style, like, you've always been sort of, I don't want to say catch based, but a catch style grappler?
I love Josh Barnett and Eric Paulson. And
Do you find that your style's changing now that you're playing more guard stuff?
yes. The problem with that style is there's a reason why jiu-jitsu is overtaken. It's because they get so many more chances to use their guard against guys like that
Right.
they develop that game to beat guys like that. So most of my losses are from either on bottom or just me gassing out when I was a heavier guy. So when I changed that, and now I just follow the best guys. Like, I still love Paulson, Barnett, that's wicked, but best guy in the world right now is Gordon Ryan. So you got to start following the best guys in the world. If you want to be, and especially now when we have this time and like not everyone can train, these instructionals BJJ fanatics are putting out, if you don't take advantage, you're gonna fall behind.
A couple times a year they're giving out free
Yeah,
instructional
they did.
series.
Andrew Whittlesey just put out a free knee cut one. I'll be watching that later, probably. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of my biggest accomplishments I've won from being in, even as a big guy, I was always in pretty good shape. I've always had good grappling cardio. So that was my style. I could put it on people. I always did really well against heavyweights because
you
most
can
of them,
grind.
I can grind and I wouldn't get tired like they would. But you'd see when I go against like a Presley or a Joel Jackard or guys like that, that doesn't work. Because guess what? Their cardio is even better than mine. They don't have as much blood to pump.
They're a little more agile.
Exactly. So that's all it is. But yeah, I still love that style. I still, like everyone knows, I love leaning on the head, front headlock. Where the head goes, the body goes. So that's always in my head. Where the head goes, body goes. So let's go with that.
Yeah. Well, you definitely seem a lot more agile now. It's weird.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun being able to move. That's what I mean by this
Not used
changed
to
my
seeing
life, right?
not used to seeing a big guy like that play guard. You pass and the leg's already there. It's like, wait, who is this again?
Same guy, bud.
Yeah.
So take us through a bit of the mental preparation, and obviously it's different between doing like an open tournament with time limit, semi-IBJJF scoring, FLA Kumatai, Road Grand Prix, at very different events. Does the mental aspect of training change very much, or is it really just about reinforcing that callus, that toughness, lots of rounds?
You need to base your time off of what you're going to be doing. So when I did the FLA stuff, we did 7-minute, especially like Sunday was my big training day. We would do 7-minute rounds, take a break, and then do a 3-minute overtime. If I could tap one of the guys I was with, they would leave, a new guy would come in right after. And then at the overtime, a new guy would come in.
So the rule set really does play a big part in.
I
how you
think
train leading up.
like that's why your guys is so cool. Is how do you do it? How do you prepare for something like that? Because no one prepares by doing a half-hour grappling match. You know what I mean? So you have to decide what works for you. So when I was preparing for the Grand Prix, I did zero no-gi training. I wore a gi every time. And the other guy didn't have to wear a gi though. So then I would have to worry about the grips, and it would make my life harder. And it would just get me more used to training the gi. And
That's really interesting.
We would go for an hour and a half straight. I would just have Jason Martin and Rob and Matt and all them guys just attack. But like, that's why if my first match with Jericho, I was actually worried about him because he's such a little ball of muscle, right?
Yeah.
And I pulled guard because I knew I wouldn't wear out off my back. I was doing an hour long of guys just beating the shit out of me.
Bigger guys too.
Bigger guys just laying on top of me. So I was like, all right. And points didn't matter. So I wasn't going to use all this energy to keep him inside my guard. So I just kept moving, and no offense, but I think he got a little tired trying to hold me down.
Yeah.
And then I got on top. I used that toe hold. Or I used a little trick I got for getting guys off my knee on belly. Grabbed the toe hold. He spun out. I got on top, and I was able to use just a mean crank on him. But it wasn't a crank. It was a smother. But it was allowed, I think. Don't take my win away.
Was it Mother's Milk?
It was.
Yeah. The worst.
Yeah, it wasn't nice. But I got the win on that one. And then actually, Eric Paulson has a better name for it now. He calls him Leche de Madre.
Sounds a little more Portuguese.
Yeah.
I remember because when I saw that match, and when you pulled a guard, one of those moments where my mind just exploded. I was like, I didn't
Something
expect.
different is happening right
Didn't
now.
expect Joe Pilmer to pull a guard on Jericho.
Yeah. So, I think that might have played with his mind a little too, because I was talking to Justice after. He goes, "What?" Yeah. But I forget the question now. But
A difference in how you prepare mentally for these different types of events.
Yeah, that's it. You just need to get used to your time frame. Obviously, if you're going to do like an IBJJF match or like a big in front of a crowd, you have to be aware that it's going to feel a little bit different. So there's really not much you can do for that. I like, if you've been watching what Josh Presley's been doing, he's having his guys do like mini tournaments.
Yeah.
With everyone screaming at him. That's insane. Everyone should do that.
It's an awesome experience for them.
Everyone should do that. That should just be Sundays are tournament day. Not even competition training. Just call it like tournament day. And just show up and do it. Like, that'd be my idea. Or
Get used to the noise and the nerves.
yeah,
Right?
just and anyone that doesn't want to train, just come in and start yelling shit. You suck.
Just heckle your friends.
Yeah. Why not? It plays with your head. Yeah. So yeah, that's all I can say is know your rule set, know your time, and do whatever you can to prepare for it.
Good advice. Now, when you think about your journey from white belt to black belt, obviously we all have highs and lows and plateaus and areas of frustration during training. Like, what are some really memorable moments for you, either for the good or the bad, on the way from the start till now?
So I remember getting beat up pretty good when I first started. I wasn't naturally good at it. Like I could do big guy stuff, but I didn't catch on. You know what I mean? It took me till about 3-stripe white belt. And my buddy Tom Splain, he's one of my best friends. He out of Victory. He said, I told someone else this, and he's like, "What a shitty thing to say." And I was like, "Oh, I love it." He said, "You're really good at doing the wrong thing." And I'm like, "Whatever, man, it worked." But that was it. And then the first match I ever did, the first tournament match, getting beat in 40 seconds, getting hip tossed and embarrassed. That was quite a thing. Probably the biggest match of my career, or like up to a certain point, was me and Marco LeBlanc went against each other at the Victory tournament in Moncton in 2016. That match is on YouTube. And like at the time, Marco was like, I think he just won like the Nova Scotia Open. He was doing he was awesome, right? And not that he's not now, he's still really good. I just haven't rolled.
Not quite as active.
Yeah, I just haven't rolled him in a long time. But that match was a battle of wills, and like that match made me actually think I was a purple belt, because I always like I have a bit of low self-esteem, so I always never think I'm good enough.
I think we've all got that imposter syndrome.
So when I did that and we went the full 8 minutes, which was the longest match I've ever done, and you know we went to a draw, and then he got the win for whatever it was. It was a referee's decision. That match reminded, like, it just solidified that I was what I was.
You belong here.
I belong there, yeah. So I always say thank you to Marco for that match, because that was the best. The next time I went up against him, he tapped me in like a minute 30, but it doesn't matter. You know, that's what I mean. It doesn't matter. You get beat, you win, you lose, it just doesn't matter. Yeah, but that one hurt. That hurt my arm pretty good. But another big one was the first time I went up against Joel Jackert. And, you know, Joel was the man. He still is the man.
Yeah.
But I went up against him, and it was the Freedom Roll in 2017. And funny enough, I did my first IBJJF tournament the weekend before in California. Got smoked bad. But I went up against Joel, and we went the whole, I think it was 10 minutes. So that was, again, that's the longest match I ever did. And I was on top a lot of it. I think I passed his guard once, but he ended up on the back, and he got the referee's decision. Again, next time I went up against Joel, he choked me with a north-south choke. So it doesn't matter, but it's cool, like those little things. Like, that's why I said, I was talking to Josh Presley, and I said, for years I always came up like a little bit short. And then finally, when I won the FLA, I didn't care about how I won or why I won. I just wanted to win. And so that was pretty cool for me, because that's always been a mental block of mine. I always want to win, and I want to win decisively. And this time I just wanted to win. So just like Edgeguard used to say, win's a win, my friend. Right? So yeah, those are big moments for me. Getting my brown belt was pretty cool from Max, because like I didn't know Max that well. So like I got my blue belt and purple belt from Edgeguard. Max came up and got my brown belt. That was pretty cool. And then getting my black belt from John. And probably the biggest lows were when I was fighting MMA.
You'd mentioned that
hard.
with Presley, yeah.
Yeah, it takes losing a cage fight and losing a jiu-jitsu match, way different. Losing a jiu-jitsu match is just like, hey, I got caught. Losing a fight sucks. It gets your rate down, like you can get some bad thoughts in your head. Yeah. Right? You gotta really work on being positive. And yeah, that was some of the lows. So my first fight with Nick, he won by decision, but I used to complain about that one, being like, he won.
Yeah.
He did the most damage. I just held him up against the cage. He won that fight. My next fight against Max, I was super happy I won that fight against Max, but it was kind of a trick, because everyone thought I was going to come in trying to grapple. And I spent that whole camp doing kickboxing.
Yeah.
So
you looked good that fight.
I was really light on my feet. I was really proud of that. And then the next fight with Nick, I got really heavy. That obviously, that's just a problem I've had in my life. But I knew Nick was going to be heavy too, so I thought maybe I'd have some extra power. No, man, that dude's he's a monster.
Strong, yeah.
He's a monster. So just like I said, Nick knocked those dreams right out of my head. So now ever since I've refocused just on doing jiu-jitsu, my life has been 100 times better.
Yeah, I find the fans really make a difference too. Like jiu-jitsu fans, most of them train. Like if they're watching jiu-jitsu, they probably know jiu-jitsu. Yeah. Which makes it a lot easier. No, you don't. With MMA, if you lose, I had people that have never trained a day in their life calling and offering me advice.
Yeah, it's like, get away from me.
So it's quite a difference, and they'll drop you too. Like a jiu-jitsu fan, if you lose a couple matches, they're still a fan. Yeah. But an MMA fan, if you lose once, they've already moved on. They're a little cold that way. Yeah, it just really hurts your soul. And then family, they don't make fun of you, but they're just like, oh, you're still gonna do that? You got hurt last time, and your ego kicks in because you don't want to stop. Right. But then you got to put your own health in the line. We're doing amateur, so we're not even getting paid. So it's just like, man, if you're gonna do something amateur, do jiu-jitsu. It's costing us money to get hit in the head. Yeah, man. And you only got so many of them you can take too. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, I think I hit my limit. Yeah. So yeah, that would be my lowest point. Yeah. Well, we do have some Ask Me Anything questions. You want to hop into those? And Sure.
Actually, while we're getting it going, I do want to ask one funny question. We mentioned it beforehand. Joe, if you were up against waves of kids in grade 4 or grade 5, how many do you think you could beat in a fight before they overwhelmed you? They're coming at you 5 at a time, grade 4.
I thought it was like the first wave is 1 kid and the second wave is 2 kids.
Okay, how about
Third
that? A
wave's 3
cascading
kids.
increase.
Kids are big now, man. I don't
Yeah, they
know.
are. Let's go with like second graders.
Second graders.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'd probably just run. I'd run faster than them.
You got to beat them. So the answer's 1.
Yeah, 1. I'd boot him while I ran away.
I lost it. Oh, come on.
I think I got it open.
I did too. So who was your, I guess, toughest opponent through all your competition?
I'd have to split it between Sean McManus, Joel Jackard, and Marco LeBlanc.
Yeah.
3-way tie.
So toughest in what way? Would that be like the grind of the fight or skill or?
Marco was just really good when we were going. Like he was better. Like I have no problem saying he was better than me. I was a grindy
Yeah.
asshole. Really, that's all I am. I just keep going, right? He was
working.
technically better than me. So those two styles colliding made a big mess. Joel can grind better than I can, and he was technically better than I was. So yeah, that's what affected me was just Joel. Like I had him in like I love the 10-finger guillotine, and he had me in half guard, and I tried to pull his head off, and he would not tap, and then yeah, it happened. And he's just really good.
Yeah, he is.
And Sean's just Sean. Sean, you can't do anything to him. He told me that one time we were rolling, and I actually finally caught him with a submission, like in training. And he goes, "See, that's everyone's problem. They don't think they can tap me." So it really works to his advantage.
It's a mindset thing.
Yeah,
I
but
find sometimes I roll with like a wider blue belt, and
Yeah.
they don't. I know they know more than they're letting on, but they
Yeah.
won't even try.
Yeah, but Sean's obvious. He's just super tough. We went a half hour, and then he still won the next match to win the belt.
Yeah.
Actually, another guy I got thrown is Matt Tarantini. We're
Yeah,
2
Matt's
and 2.
really good.
We're 2 and 2. I got him when he was in a younger belt. He got me when we were higher belt. So we're 2 and 2.
Yeah, he's gearing up for a cage fight right now.
Yeah.
Okay. What? I guess
Actually, even funny enough, I have one win. Both of us have 1 win by submission and 1 win by referee decision
Oh yeah.
or points. Yeah.
Must be a big weight discrepancy now.
I don't know.
Would it be as much as
It
before?
was way more before.
Because he's dropped weight too, right?
Oh, has he?
I
I just see he's training with the Titans guys.
Yeah, I see
But,
that.
he's so good.
Yeah.
He has the grip and his grip. He has these big, massive hands that just shit.
Which competition / rule set do you find the most challenging?
Your guys'.
Which, the tournament one or the
no,
Grand Prix?
the Grand Prix. Grand Prix. Yeah, I think that's the purest form. Again, it's not the most viewer friendly because listen, as cool as me as a fan, I could watch Presley versus McIntosh. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
31 minutes, I think, or something crazy.
Yeah.
Or me and Sean, 29 minutes. Those two, the only one I could say was really like spectacularly like fast was the 2 ladies before me and Sean, Abby and
Haley.
It was just
they
high
never
pace.
stopped. Like it was just constantly going. Like me and Sean, like I laid on Sean a lot. Like, I was like, you can't move, I gotta breathe. But yeah, I would say the submission only style is the toughest style.
Yeah. So those are the most challenging. What's your favorite rule set to beat on?
Submission only.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Even though I haven't won one, I got 1 win in that format, but it's
Well, there's a learning curve too.
yeah,
right?
like
See how you
the
go into it.
FLA match was cool, but I don't go around like I'm king submission because I won 2 by submission, but one of them was in the last seconds of the overtime, and the other one, that first match I looked pretty good, and then like I went up against the young fella second match, and that wasn't a real spectacular match. Like I felt bad for Kat; they had to make a highlight video out of that, and I'm like, good luck. It's just me collar tying the guy, but and then the last one with Abdel, man, that dude's, if he got a hold of my leg, I don't know how that would have went. But lucky, I just stayed heavy
He seems to be getting really good fast.
Oh, fuck, man. I don't want no more of that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But he, that format worked well for me, especially with the cage, because I've been in the cage quite a bit, and I could use the cage. I knew how to use it. So that was pretty cool for me. I loved being able to do jiu-jitsu in a cage. I thought that was wicked. But my favorite was still getting ready for the Grand Prix and doing that.
All right. I think you sort of covered this one already. Who was his toughest opponents? And just a repeat of another question.
Yeah, just Joel, Sean, Marco, Matthew.
Yeah. What's the hardest or most important rank in jiu-jitsu and why?
Everyone says white belt because you actually have to take that courage to start. I would honestly say purple belt. Purple belt, I think, is a very interesting time because in any other martial art, you would be a black belt, right? And it can affect you because someone will say, well, what are you? I'm a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, you'll get there, like stuff like that. And it's just like,
My nephew's a black belt.
you have no idea how much time and effort it takes to get a purple belt. Right. It's insane. I cried when John told me I was getting my purple belt. I was more emotional when I got my purple belt than when I got my black belt. And that was a surprise. I didn't even know it was coming, right?
Wow.
But there was kind of like a bit of a thing because I was a 4-stripe brown belt. Like I knew it was coming. I just didn't know it was going to be that day, right? But when I got my purple belt, that was a big deal because I just won the blue belt challenge. Now Sonia was driving me home from Pictou, and I'm looking at my money. I won 300 and some bucks because we all had to throw money in. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then my phone's blowing up, and I'm like, oh man, this is the biggest thing ever. And then John goes, Edgeguard just texted me. He's giving you your purple belt when he comes down. And I'm like, Sonia's like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Now, this is one of my personal favorite questions to ask. It's really about kind of looking back and reflecting on your time. But now, as a black belt, and thinking back on the road to get here, is there anything you wish you would have done differently in your training? Something you would have focused more on in the earlier years or less on in the earlier years to help you get here faster?
So the reason I got really into like powerlifting and getting strong was I had a lot of lower back and neck issues. So when I trained at Matt Forgey's at For Fitness and Athletics, and he did a lot of stuff to fix those issues. So we did a lot of like trap bar deadlifts, heavy stuff, just to, because if you don't have those muscles, you got to do that hypertrophy training to build those muscles, because that's like your glutes and your low back and all that stuff. You need that to keep your spine strong, right? So I did that a lot, and maybe I should have, after I got like maybe did a couple years of that, maybe I should have went to more to the fitness side of things and the functional, because you get addicted to how you train. So I used to be, if I didn't do a deadlift in a week, I'd like be like, oh man, I'm getting weak, I'm gonna get hurt. But really, I could do a suitcase deadlift with one kettlebell, and you're still hitting the same muscles, and you actually might even be doing something better because it's offside.
Yeah, stabilization,
cross
cross.
right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I would say I would have focused more on my fitness. I would have focused more on my diet, not let myself balloon up as much as I did, because you can see in some of my tournaments, like I might have won something, but I look rough, right? And not that, hey man, what anyone does with their body in their life, you do your thing. For me, wanting to be an athlete, representing my club, representing my own self, I felt better getting to how I am now. So I like being lean, I like being fit. So that's the way I want to be that for the rest of my life.
What's your diet like while you're eating clean?
I just intermittent fast. I hate even saying that. I don't eat breakfast.
Yeah.
But I wake up, I don't eat, I have an energy drink, even though some people say you shouldn't drink those, or that messes up the fast. But I go till 11, I eat a protein bar, and 11:30 is lunchtime. I'll eat, actually, you know what, it's not a guilty pleasure, but I'm really good at finding things to eat at like fast food places, because I'm kind of lazy. Wendy's grilled chicken sandwich. You can eat 2 of those. You get 65 grams of protein. There's no mayonnaise because they use a honey mustard, and they're only 360 calories each.
Right.
So you can eat 2 of them at 600 some calories, and most people have almost 1,000 calories in them by lunch. So like my day, I'm right around 2,000 to 2,200 calories.
Wow.
So yeah, my days normally. So if I'm lazy in the morning not cooking, but I eat a lot of a lot of steak, a lot of cauliflower rice. I try not to eat a lot of bread. Go to.
This one's from Bogdan. How does your wife and whole family support you? And what would be your advice to younger competitors on how to prioritize and build relationships with loved ones?
I read that and
I didn't like the question.
It's hard.
No,
it's hard
it's
to
a hard
balance family and training.
It is hard, and my wife, God bless her, she's been through a lot of stuff. Like, I almost get emotional thinking about it, like the amount of times, like on a Friday night driving to Fredericton to wrestle with Clint Kingsbury, and she's home alone. You know what I mean? Me just utterly selfish. Like, I still get upset about it. But she 100% stood beside me. But it helped a lot too that we didn't have any kids. We were just me and her. But I still get sad about that. But she's 100% supportive in everything I do. She gets fed up when it's like competition time. But she comes to all my events. She's the loudest one cheering.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was actually it really, as much as it affected me, my loss to Nick, the cage fight when I got knocked out, it really scared her, and that had a lot to do with me not doing it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So, and my mom's my biggest fan. She's awesome. She doesn't like watching. She gets nervous. So she's never seen one of my fights. She doesn't watch the jiu-jitsu, but she supports me. And then, yeah, my brother, he didn't want me to do the cage fighting anymore. And yeah, a lot of my family, they support me. They share all the stuff I put online. And it's pretty cool. I got a lot of support. But how to balance it, I don't know. I was really lucky.
Still trying to figure it
I
out.
was really lucky with a really, really accepting wife.
That's what I said to Bogdan too. Like that's an eternal question because life is constantly in a state of flux. Everything is changing around you, and how you react to these variables. There's no game plan for that.
No.
Question for me. We talked about it a bit earlier. Your training regime look today versus how it looked in the past. You mentioned like the shift more to functional training.
Yep.
Anything else you kind of identify as a big shift where you're more of a driller now? It's more situational rolling, or do you...
Doing jiu-jitsu?
Yeah.
A big thing, is putting yourself into bad situations. You have to. You cannot constantly be where you're comfortable. So I'm a big fan of being put in a mount, someone taking my back, someone putting me in the 411 or Ashy, having to escape with them, have it locked in. And obviously you have to have good trust in your partner, not to blow your knee out in those leg lock positions. But if you don't go there, you will lose there. That's the issue. So if all you do is play side control and that's your whole game, you better be on side control bottom the next time you roll, especially if you're getting ready for something. And don't go into a tournament with absolutely no wrestling. Wrestling's super important, especially if you are a guy on top. Like, I'm happy now that I can pull guard more because I've lost matches because I wouldn't pull guard. But it's super important for people to focus on some wrestling or some judo, just some sort of stand-up, because those 2 points can be critical. And you need to be used to that grind. I love wrestling myself. I'm terrible at judo.
Speaking of judo, our next question is from John Judo Williams. What's your mindset when you're competing? How to deal with nerves and competition anxiety?
I just like I said, I tell myself my little mantra there. You chose to do it. Actually, I listened to, you guys know who Shannon the Cannon Briggs is? He's a boxer. He was on Joe Rogan. He changed his life by getting in super good shape, but he always says, "Let's go, champ. Let's go, champ." He was following like Vladimir Klitschko around, like screaming at him at press conferences because he hasn't been ranked in years, but that's what he said to himself to keep himself going. He said, "Let's go, champ. Let's go, champ." So like I would say that, and another one I stole from Ric Flair: "To beat a man, you got to beat the man." I keep saying that stuff in my head.
Yeah.
And actually, you know what? Joel Jacquard at the FLA, I won my first match. And I was going up against Cam the second match, and I was like, man, and you know, sometimes you get a little nervous when you go against someone that's a blue belt and you're a brown belt, you know, like that can mess with
You
you.
have more on the
Yeah,
line.
because
than
like
you
I
do,
lost to Ken Beaton by heel hook, and he was a blue belt, and I was a brown belt at the time.
Yeah.
It's like it's stupid. It shouldn't be. You got caught is what it is, but it does play a little bit of an effect on your brain. And I was nervous, thinking, oh, what if? Because I was always superstitious. And Joel, I said, yeah, well, I don't want to give myself bad luck by saying I'm going to beat this guy. And he goes, there is no luck. You just do it. You just think you're going to do it, and you're going to do it. There is no luck. And he said that to me, man. That just lit a fire under my ass.
Awesome.
And I was like, so, thanks, Joel.
Yeah, it's funny because that even like having those little mantras, like one thing now, like we have talked about this off camera as well, is we're all trying these cold showers to kind of start your day post-train, deal with the inflammation, etc. But one of the things I find I've had to tell myself oftentimes when I just do not want to have a cold shower now, especially it's dark early when I wake up. It's going to get worse in the winter, and there's in there freezing water's hitting my skin. I'm just saying to myself, this is what I do.
Yep, this is what I do.
I say some terrible things to myself. I can't say on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah. Force myself to get in there.
Just a lot of expletives.
It's a mental fortitude exercise for me.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly it. Like I try to have a cardio element, a physical strength and functional training element, and then a mental toughness element. And whether that's sobriety or it's cold showers or it's reading a book or whatever it is, like I find those are the three kind of buckets that I'm trying to fill with training.
I like that.
But actually, speaking of that, Alyssa Vino's question is, what mental strategies do you use to train? What helps you push through when you don't feel up to it?
I have a high amount of self-hatred. And I talk to myself like I am the biggest piece of garbage in the world. If I do something I'm not supposed to,
You hear about it.
I torture myself. Oh, you didn't run yesterday? You were only supposed to do 6K, you're doing 20 today. There has to be an accountability for everything you do. If I went to jiu-jitsu and I almost had a sweep, but it wasn't because I was doing it technically wrong, but it's because I just gassed out from being a sup. You're doing something, you're doing 100 burpees. You know what I mean? Like, you got to force yourself. I did that a couple weeks ago. Everyone was doing the planks after class, and I was in the other room. It was the first time I had a gi on since the FLA, and I would have to do 10 burpees every minute for 5 minutes. And it doesn't sound that hard until you do it. So you do 10 burpees in a minute, and whatever's left in the minute is your break. And then you got to do 10. Man, I almost threw up.
Yeah, so it's tough. It's great to train because you have a choice. You can burn through your reps and try to get some more rest, or you can do your reps slowly and try to pace yourself more. But like that's a mental toughness trick all in itself. Yeah.
So did you pick that attitude up, like reading these books, or is that something you've always had?
I've always good, healthy smattering of self-hatred.
Right.
But and I've always done things to torture myself, but this is more now, especially reading Goggins.
Yeah,
and
it sounds
like
like some Goggins stuff.
Yeah, he's super motivated. He's out there running ultra marathons, and they're sucking fluid out of his knee like in a syringe this big, and he's just like, stay hard.
Yeah.
Like,
shout out to David Goggins.
Yeah.
You scare me, sir.
Hardest man on the planet.
Yeah. Grant Gray's question: any exercise routine you recommend you find helps you with your jiu-jitsu?
If you have any structural issues with the way your body moves, like if you are underdeveloped in certain spots, I would definitely go see a professional, like a physio or a strength and conditioning coach for, like, if you have weak ankle mobility, if your hips are not strong enough, if you have not enough glute strength, I would definitely go see. I would recommend Matt Porgy.
But, you live in the St. John and surrounding areas?
Yeah, sorry. I wouldn't travel from Moncton. That might be a little hard on the old gas tank. But, yeah, I would go see someone to fix those deficiencies. For me, like, I've only ever used certain things. Like you see now, Gordon Ryan, and Nicky Rod, those guys are doing the bodybuilding. I can't do that. I would be way too sore. But I like...
so you got to work.
I do kettlebells. One of my favorite kettlebell workouts is I set the timer for 20 minutes. I do 10 swings and 2 burpees, and then whatever's left in the minute is my break, and I do that for 20 minutes. I like a lot of kettlebell stuff. I would recommend Primal Swolger on Instagram. A lot of his, especially if you only can afford one kettlebell, single kettlebell stuff. It's wicked. And big fan of the Bulgarian bag. And do your pull-ups. You got to do pull-ups. They're important.
Well, and we're going to end it with the reigning Grand Prix champion, Sean McManus's question. Why pumped up kicks?
So,
You might have to explain that question a little.
Yeah.
so when I am grappling someone and I start to feel that I'm losing my ability to retain oxygen. Like I'm over, what's that called? Shit.
Hypertrophic? No?
No, just you're
Lactic acid?
breathing too heavy.
Okay.
Hyperventilating.
Oh,
I'm getting too, I'm freaking out. I can't control my breath. I will sing a song. Because you cannot,
while you're rolling?
yeah, you are forced, when you sing, you are forced to have that cadence of how the song goes, right? So you have to take breaths at that time, and when you do that, it'll actually slow you down. So when Sean and I were having our match, I was going, "Oh, the little kids with the pom-pom."
Which is a terrifying song, by
I
the
know, but it's a really catchy tune. But yeah, it's a really disturbing
dark.
song. But I actually use that song when I run too, because that puts my head into a dark place, and sometimes you got to be in the dark place.
I don't know if it works for you.
But yeah, that's why I pumped up kicks, and the rhythm was really good at me catching my breath back. Because when you're pretty overweight and you're grappling Sean McManus and in an oven of a gym in August for 20-some minutes, you gotta control your breathing. So yeah, I didn't know if he could hear me or not when I was singing. I forget how he knew that. He must have heard it.
Yeah.
You're pretty close proximity.
Yeah, actually, I still remember against me and Chad Cox were going, and there's a song I love called by a band named Fear. It's an old song called "I Love Living in the City." It's an old punk song, and I'm sitting there and I'm freaking out again. It's Chad Cox, you know. He's
Chainsaw.
yeah, he's way better than me, but that day I got the best of him. But I'm going, I love living in the city. And I just keep saying it out loud, so whatever. It works for me.
Yeah, good stuff.
So, if anybody wants to follow your savagery on social media, where would they find you?
Joe Pilmer on Facebook and Joseph, is it Joe or Joe W. Pilmer on Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram. That's my favorite deal. I do not have a YouTube page, but if you type it in, you can see there's a couple of cool things that other people have posted. And yeah, that's it.
Is there anybody you'd like to have a quick shout out to, or anybody to wrap up?
Oh, my wife, love you, Sonia. She's the best. Matt Tufts, main training partner all these years, deserves a lot of credit for my win a couple weeks ago. Rob, Pat, Jason, Nathan, Mike McPartland, and Mike owns this place, which is awesome. And yeah, all the guys at MXT. And if I forgot someone, I'm sorry. But yeah, that's it. I love you all. John Kelly. John, if it wasn't for John, none of us would be here.
None of us would be
this would be a
Nobody at
thing.
the table.
So John Kelly for sure. Nicest guy in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And that's it.
Well, fantastic. Listen, once again, thank you for your time, Joe, and joining us here. Always want to say thankful to our sponsors, help us make this stuff happen. So Creative Lifestyle Studio, again, here helping film it and record this interview. Akiro, Break New Ground, Fight Supply, the Cask and Kettle, obviously, for giving us a beautiful venue to be able to shoot.
Technacity.
Dan Vanderlands. Looking forward to seeing you again, my friend. I think that's a wrap. So thanks very much, guys. Like and follow us, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll see you again soon. October 9th in Sussex, New Brunswick.